Hey guys, this is Leon, and I am here with you getting ready to edit a photo in my somewhat signature painterly style. So, first of all, let's start out in Lightroom. This is how the image is pretty much straight out of camera. Like, if you look over on the right side here, like all of my bars are pretty much at zero. And I just moved my white balance over just a little bit because she was looking like a little bit warm there. So this is the image that we're going to be editing. So first of all, what I'm going to do a Control E, and that's just going to put me into Photoshop. So typically with trying to decide which images to edit in the style, you have to be a little bit picky. So if you can look at some of the qualities of this image, there's a very what I would consider soft light. They're not like really strong highlights. If you light an image the normal, like a normally lit image, you're going to have some issues with actually having the style kind of stand out. But you can see that this is kind of almost flat. It's not flat because you can see like the shadows here, the shadows along the clavicle and different parts of the neck. You can see the shadows around here, but the light is not, you don't have really strong specular highlights. I like to think of it as relatively flat compared to like what someone might consider like a more traditional lighting. Okay, so first of all here, first thing I typically do with my image is I will go into Adobe Camera Raw, which is for me it's Control Shift A or Command Shift A for Mac users. I'm on a Mac right now, and I'm just gonna play with my little bars over here, and I just play with them until they get kind of how I like them. So my exposure is probably pretty good there. Contrast, I like that. I like the kind how the shadows are looking. I look at the shadows and I look at the face, and I think of what looks just more pretty or what looks painterly to me. Highlights, I like those highlights right there. Shadows. Okay, I'm gonna do that with the shadows there. Now the whites, now there's a choice here. Sometimes I prefer to raise my whites versus raise my exposure versus raising my whites with these pictures, because what I'm going to show you here, look at when I raise my whites. I mean, if you can tell, that's getting warmer. Why? I don't know, but it's just that that's what it does. So as you can see, I set that back to 0. So like if I want to raise my exposure without adding like some warmness to my pictures, then what I do is I will add it to the exposure versus the whites. Okay, so that looks about where I want it to be. Let me look at clarity here. I like adding a little bit of clarity when I can. Okay, so then I'm going to hit OK and commit to those changes. So as you can see, I think this thing right here was probably my light modifier. I use a 48-inch octabox with a strobe inside of it, and I usually feather my light, and that helps me get that very soft light the way I want it. Okay, so what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to clean up my screen a little bit. So I'm going to hit, I just hit C so that I can crop my image. I have like a 1-to-1 ratio going here, so I'm going to clear that, hit escape and hit C again, and it should be back. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to hit delete cropped pixels, and I'm going to hit content aware fill. So what that's going to do is that I'm going to expand my background first. Let's see. So I'm going to bring that to here, bring this over to here. So totally get rid of that portion. Now I could do the same thing if I like used the lasso and just did a content aware fill with that. So I'm going to hit that, and then those pixels which I just got rid of when I cropped are now deleted. So now I'm going to leave these checked like that. What's important there is a content aware fill, and I'm going to get what I want the dimensions and the composition of the picture to be of the image. Okay. All right. So there we go. So, and Avada Kedavra. So what that's going to do, you see how that like extended my background there. Okay, and so now like some people ask me about my background. It's a hand painted background, It looks a lot better in pictures than it does otherwise. Oh, by the way, this image was shot at 1/2500th of a second at f1.8 and ISO 100 with a 50mm lens. Okay, so get that. So sometimes my background has creases because I don't ever steam my background. I mean, I don't have the time for that. So I will fold my background up and my backdrop, and I'll like pack it in a suitcase and do what I have to do with it. But then, like, if I have issues with it, like you see this little mark right here, I just take it with the patch tool, I pull it over, and it's gone. Like, if there are any inconsistencies in the background, the backdrop rather, I will just, like, deal with those. Like, I have a few creases there, and once you pull them out and like deal with them, they just look like another part of your pattern in your backdrop. Okay. All right. All right. That's all I see that I really want to like, that I would want to mess with. Okay. I'm going to deselect that using Command or Control D, and I'm going to increase the size of that. I'm going to zoom in using a Control and the plus sign. So now I'm going to deal with these blemishes that I have here. So I'm going to use the patch tool to get rid of some of these, and I can actually make that larger. So I'll start on her face. Okay. So with the patch tool, you're just taking that and then you just pull it over. You circle the area that you want to change, and then you just pull it over to an area that's kind of clean. And it's a process. Like, I try to start like either at the bottom or the top and just work my way down. Okay. And I'm going to actually clean up these hairs too, so don't worry about that. Actually, this might be my first video just like cleaning up some of the blemishes to give you guys an idea of like what I go through each time. Now, I'm not going to be really close to her face, so like we won't be close enough because this is like a entire torso, and you won't really see these blemishes, but like because I'm like zoomed so closely in, I would want to like get rid of them if I can, because ultimately, like, I like a somewhat smooth face. The exception would be sometimes I get people with freckles, and with freckles you have to pretty much do everything by hand because any like frequency separation or anything like that will destroy freckles, just as it would any other inconsistencies or imperfections in the face. Okay, or it kind of like normalizes them, which means it will destroy freckles. Okay, so let me get in there. You see that little discoloration there? I want to like pull that, and so now you can see that. Yeah, so I just try to get rid of like some of the major discolorations and any blemishes, major blemishes that I see. And like I said, I'm just lassoing it with the patch tool and then just pulling it to an area where the skin is the way I like it. Alrighty. Alright, so now I'm going to clean up some of these hairs. And for that, I'm going to use my spot healing tool, and I'm going to make my brush really small. You see my brush is just a little bit bigger than the hair. Okay, so what am I doing? All right, let's see. So I have something selected. So as you can see up here, I have something selected. So I'm going to hit Control D and deselect it. There we go. Okay, and I do this just in little pieces, just in case there's one piece that I don't like. I can always just go back and do it over. Whereas if you do like an entire hair and you don't like the result, then you'll have to go back and do it. Okay. So I'm just cleaning up that hair. And one thing you guys need to know about me is I'm more of like a 80% solution type person. I'm not going to sit and retouch an image like, 5 hours or something, just, or, I try to get an image just to where I like it and get the general idea to, get in a general area of where I want it. I mean, I want my image to be good, but like I'm not going to sit and like fix every pixel like some retouchers might. So, but to each his own. I mean, it's good to know the skills just in case you want to. Some images that I mean, you'll really want to sit there and fix them all. You want it to look good, and you could also use the spot healing tool to fix like those blemishes too, like that. And all it's doing is like it's doing a content aware fill, and it usually does a really good job at it. Okay. So I'm just cleaning up that hair. And now I'm going to clean up some of these hairs. And for that, I'm going to use my spot healing tool. And I'm going to make my brush really small. You see my brush is just a little bit bigger than the hair. Okay, So the only thing that you need to worry about sometimes is maybe like luminosity, like like you have a dark spot or something like that. It's just like a little crease there. I'm gonna get rid of this hair right here. Now sometimes you want hairs in the face. It depends on your style. Um, then let's see. I would go look at these eyes and clean. I can clean up some of these red areas in the eyes. Go over to the other eye. And like I said, we're actually not even going to be this close in with this image, so it's not really a big deal, but at least you guys know. So like say, Leon never taught us how to do that. All right. All right. So let's see. And you can see kind of her lips are dry. One recommendation I would say, like even if you want your model to have like a very natural look, insist that she bring like lip gloss at the minimum so that you don't get a real dry look, a dry lip look. Okay. And I'm gonna fix this area on her chest here. She has some discoloration there. Okay, get rid of these. And at some point I'll probably fix this discoloration. If I can see it after I do what I do, then I'll get rid of it. Okay. So let's see, I see something on her chin, not her chin, but her cheek over here that I think I want to get rid of. And I'm going to go back to the patch tool and circle that and just bring it down. Okay. And it's always good to zoom out and then look at an image again and see if there's anything that you want to fix. Okay. And she has, it looks like either part of a gown or a bra there. I might fix that. I think I could leave it in also, and I don't think it'll detract from the image. Okay, so this is where I am with the image, and that's like with all of my blemishes and things gone away. Now let me take a close look. Like I don't worry about the hair like right there. Some people might. There's some little small areas here. Okay. So a lot of these things I'm gonna get rid of using my dodge and burn. Okay. Alrighty. All right. Let me look at her hands down here. I don't think that there's any weird things on her hands here, but I mean, it's always important that like you check also hands and what other portions of the image just to make sure that there's nothing weird. Like sometimes you might even have to look for like dog hair, cat hair. So always take a good look at your image like all over and just see if there's anything out of place. Make sure that there are no tags or anything that's like really out of place. Okay. So that's how I get rid of like all of my blemishes, and that's how I kind of prepare the image for everything else that I'm going to do. So in the next segment, I'm going to be doing some dodging and burning. Thank you.